Hi, in this demo, I'm going to show you how to build a microservice using API Builder, and I'm not going to use any code at all to build a set of APIs to a MongoDB database. I'll test the project and my APIs out. Um, I'll test them locally on my machine. I'll also test them through Docker, and then when I'm ready to publish for test or um, for development, I will publish this to Red Hat OpenShift, which is a Kubernetes managed infrastructure. So this is my OpenShift online console. I don't have any projects here. We're going to use the command line for most of it, but we are going to come back here. And I'm going to start off at the Axway Online docs for API Builder, and this is the Getting Started guide. So I'm going to follow the steps in here to create a project, and let's get started. Okay, so when you build an API Builder project, you do it on your local machine. You can run it on your machine and test it, and then eventually you publish it to any Docker compatible infrastructure. So let's start off with creating a project, and it's API-Builder, and the name of my project is API BM, which is API Builder Mongo, and we're going to see this project created here on the desktop. And in order to run this, I just follow these instructions. So cd into the folder, do an npm install, no optional, to install dependencies. This will take less than a minute. And then we will run our project, which is basically just a kind of hello world skeleton project. And we'll take a look at what API Builder is all about. All right, so an API Builder project is just a Node.js project, so I can use npm start. And there's my project is running, and what I can do is I can go to localhost 8080 console to view my project, but I've already got that open. That's right here. Let me click refresh, and you can see from the console log, you can see I'm hitting that project. So in here, I can see some information about my project. I can also look at the APIs. So there's a couple sample data sources here in API Builder, and these are the APIs that are exposed. Here are the models that are created, so we can do model-based API creation and also API first, where I can create a Swagger and then use a flow editor for creating the API behind that Swagger. So anyway, this is the skeleton project, and if I come over here to test user, which again has that model, I can see all the APIs. And if I come over here, I can actually, these are all fully documented, and I can actually run the API here in the browser, and there's no users. What I can do is create one. All right, so that's a post, and I come back over here, and now I'll actually have some users. This is using our in-memory connector, which is just kind of to test out, make sure the project's working fine. So now what I want to do is I want to install a MongoDB database connector. So I'm going to come over here, and in the online docs, we also have the Mongo connector page, and here is how I install it. So let me terminate the project and install the connector. And there you have it. So what this says is I need to configure the connector by going to the conf folder. So let me come in here, come under conf, and I can see here the Mongo DB connector configuration file. So the first thing I'm going to do is, so MongoDB, instead of having, databases, tables, and rows or records, it has the database, then it has collections, which are like tables, and then it has documents, which are like the records. So the schema, which would be the structure of the documents, that actually forms the schema, I could actually use that to create a model So I want to set that to true. And then I want to set model autogen to true. So for any collections, it will automatically generate full set of APIs for each collection. So I can save that. I did save that, and I am now ready to start my project again. So npm start. And I forgot to do one thing. I forgot to actually tell it where my Mongo database is. So let me come over here and let me go to MongoDB Atlas and I will log in. Now, as you saw in the online docs, we have connectors to various different databases and other SaaS applications. So if I come in here and I look at collections, we'll see what's in my MongoDB database. So you can see I've got a database called test01 and it has a collection called dog, and there's a couple records or documents in there, basically name and breed in each one. So let me come back to this project and let me get the connection string. That's what I needed. So I want to connect my application and I will select that, copy that, and I'm done now. So back in here, I totally forgot. So this string needs to be modified. So the first thing I need to do is that connection string is pointing to a database called test, but mine is actually called test01. And the credentials, I do have a user called admin, but I need to put the password, and the password is also admin. So now I'm done. And now I can start my project. And this time we won't see any errors. We'll see that we actually connected fine to the MongoDB database. That was done right here. Started connector Mongo, and it found, what did it find? I'm not sure what it found, but it found stuff. Okay, so now I come back over to here, and if I click on this, now I've got Mongo dog. So Mongo is the connector, and dog is my collection in the database called test01, and I have 11 APIs exposed automatically. So if I come here to find all and run that, I can actually see the 4 or 5 documents that were in my database. And what I'll do here is I'll grab this curl command. I'll come over here and run that. And there's my data. Okay, so in here I've also got code to put into a Titanium application, which is a cross-device native framework for Maxway. I can put it in a Node app or in a web app. So I can access this API through those code samples. All right, so what we want to do now we've got a working API Builder project. What I want to do now is create a Docker container image from that. So if I go to the online documentation, and I look at the how-tos, there is a how-to on how to Dockerize an API Builder application. So it talks about the prerequisites and creating a new project, but I already have a project that's working, so I want to come down here and get to these instructions. So I'm going to do a Docker build, so in the project, in an API Builder project, there's actually a Docker file that comes with each project. So that's what we're going to use to build the Docker image. Okay, so we built the Docker image. What I want to do now is I want to tag it to prepare it to push to Docker Hub. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this command, docker tag apibm, and I'm going to tag it with lbrenman /apibm 1.0.0. So 1.0.0 is the tag. So that's done. And what I want to do now is now I can push it to Docker Hub. So first, let me go to my Docker Hub account, and I can see I don't have I only have this one image. It's similar, but it's a different project. So what I want to do is let me find the command to publish. Okay, so the command to publish is docker image push, and I'm going to push that up to Docker Hub. Okay, let's go over to Docker Hub. Let me refresh and see if we got our. Oh, we do. There it is. So just about a minute ago, we were able to push this project here. Okay, I don't want to answer that now. So now what we need to do is we probably should test out our. We should probably test out our Docker image by running it in Docker. So let's try that now. So what I'll do is I'll use this Docker command. It's docker run, and oh, that was kind of quick. What it is? It's docker run docker run, and then rm will remove the container after I exit. The name for the container is API-BM, and it's pulling it from this image on Docker Hub. And I just want to map 8080, which is the default port that API Builder is listening on. I'll map that to 8080 on my Mac. So it's now running. So now what I could do is I can come over here and I can run this exact same command here on localhost 8080, and that should work, and it does, because it hit my API Builder project running in Docker. Okay, so now we know that works fine, so that's great. Now that we've got our API Builder project in Docker Hub, we can now move on to OpenShift and use the OpenShift command line tool to create a new project, install the app from Docker Hub, and then we'll test it out. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to log in to the URL that was provided to me on OpenShift when I set up my account. So this is where my cluster is. So I'm going to log in. I'll give my credentials. Okay, so I'm logged in and there are no projects because on the free tier you can only have one project. So usually to prepare, I delete any existing project. So I have none. So what I need to do is create a new project. So OC, new project, and project name, and I'll call this my project 3. All right, so now I'm actually connected to project 3, so anything I do now is in my project 3. And if I come now to OpenShift and click refresh, I should soon see project 3, and I just saw it for a second there. We'll get there in a second. It takes about a minute to show up. Okay, no worries. We'll see it. We'll see it in a minute. So what I want to do now is I want to add an application, and I can add an application by specifying a template. So I've got a template here called APIBM.json, and this looks very similar to a Docker Compose file, but it's a JSON file. I got this from the OpenShift Hello World example, and I just tweaked it a little bit for my needs. But it's basically defining a pod called APIBM, and it's pulling the image from Docker Hub. That's the one we just published. And I'm going to expose container port 8080, and that is it. So I'm going to use the OC create command and specify this file. All right, so it's OC create -f and then that file. Oh, so I need to go up one level. I couldn't find that file. And you can also see here in OpenShift my project is showing up. So I could see that the pod API VM was created. So I can say oc get pods. And I can see that the one pod API VM is being created. So it's not ready yet. This should take about a minute or so because OpenShift needs to pull that container image from Docker Hub and bring it up in OpenShift Kubernetes. Still creating. So at this point, we're close to being done. There's only a few more things I need to do. Okay, so this is now running. And what I can do is I can also check the log just to make sure that this is running properly. And we've seen this a couple times, so we know we're in good shape. I don't see any errors, no warnings, so this is going pretty well. The only problem is I can't really get to this API Builder project. There's no external IP exposing that. So there's two things we need to do. I need to create a service and then expose the service. So this will expose that pod as a service. And now I've got service API BM, so I need to expose that. So OC expose. Now what this will do is this will give me an external IP address for that pod. All right, so I could see that I have a route to that. And now if I click on this project and open it up, I can actually see my route for external traffic. I can copy that address. Let me come back over here. So what I need to do now is we're not sitting at localhost anymore. So let me do this. That looks good. Oh, too many slashes. So I think now if I press return, we got it. There's our traffic. I can hit it again. I can come back over here and check my logs. And you can see that there was a request and it responded with data. And I could see here pincher, poodle, breed, etc. So there you have it. We were able to create a microservice, which are APIs to my MongoDB database. And I was able to do that with API Builder and create a Docker image for that. And then we published that to Docker Hub. And then I was able to use OpenShift, which is a managed Kubernetes environment, to publish my microservice to OpenShift and test it. Thank you.